Hello and welcome back to the Common Colt Podcast, a Colts podcast with real takes and no clickbait. I'm Josh Hudgens, joined by Dan Hertzler. What's up, Dan?
Not too much, just enjoying kind of the post draft excitement, all the talk going around. I was listening to Dan Patrick's show, and they were actually asking this poll question: which rookie quarterback is going into the best situation? And kind of got me thinking a little bit. Maybe we should kind of rank these rookie quarterbacks into the best situation, and not just for this upcoming year, but over the next 3 years, which quarterback, given the fact that the Colts are one of these teams, is moving into the best situations. We're going to give you our top 5 rookie quarterbacks. Josh, why don't you start with number 5?
Yeah, number 5 for me has to be C.J. Stroud. And let me take a second to say, first of all, we're not saying this guy's going to suck. We're not saying the Texans are just a crappy situation necessarily, but all things considered, looking at this as objectively as we can, C.J. Stroud is going to the Texans, who have a defensive-minded head coach. Their offensive line is suspect at times. Their best receiver, they might have just drafted. I mean, they just drafted Tank Dell. I mean, this guy is now going from Ohio State, who had the best receivers in the NFL or in college football, to maybe a bottom 5 receiving core. I don't think that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, not only that, they also actually gave away, I think, way too much for pick 3. Which got a good player. Will Anderson's going to be a great player, but they basically gave up what now Vegas is projecting next year to be 1-2. So they gave up a huge draft pick that could actually help C.J. Stroud. So I agree with you. Number 4, I've got Will Levis with the Titans. Hey, I think this team is actually trending in the wrong direction. They're getting older. They don't have very many playmakers. They got rid of A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry's getting older. Mike Vrabel, he's kind of a very conservative, kind of old school coach. He's not really one to push the offensive, mindset of philosophy. So I really think, and he's going to be behind Tannehill probably at least for a year.
He can't mentor. We know he doesn't want to mentor anybody.
No, he wants no part of that. So he's my number 4.
Yeah, that's good. And that reminds me of another aging team, maybe with an aging quarterback. We didn't even include in this list because it is top 5. Stetson Bennett on the Rams. I know some people are tossing his name around. He didn't make our top 5. That's why he's not on this list. So number 3, this is when it gets interesting. Hendon Hooker. I got Hendon Hooker here. And I know he's a little bit older. I know that he's coming off an injury. But ACL injuries are not what they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. These guys are coming back, as good as new from these ACL injuries. The Lions are an up-and-coming team. The Lions have a decent offensive coordinator. And on top of that, they just got Gibbs, a running back, which I know was a little, maybe some fans didn't like, but that they're going to have a running game. They have receivers if they're not getting suspended, so they have a good kind of young offensive nucleus in place. And Hooker, he's not going to have to play right away. He can heal up a little bit more. He can learn from Jared Goff, who, while maybe isn't the best quarterback in the league, we all know that. He's smart, and I think he is a guy who might be able to help mentor a Hendon Hooker type for a season before, over the next 2-3 years, we're going to see this guy develop. What do you think?
Yeah, this is the wild card out of the bunch because there's a chance he doesn't even actually end up playing for the Lions. I know that's kind of wild to think, but if Jared Goff goes out and has a great season, they might end up going ahead and locking him long-term contract, and Hooker might be a trade piece. So there's a huge wild card piece here, but I agree with you. The Lions are an upcoming, really good offensive team. And if Goff struggles or Goff isn't really that great, and Hooker shows some things, he's going to move into a really nice spot. So I like number 3 here. Number 1 and number 2, though, I think, you and I had a little bit of a disagreement here. I think we wanted to flip-flop this. Why don't you share who you had at number 2, because I was a little different than you on this one.
Colts fans, I try not to be biased. So maybe this is me trying to fight that, but I got Anthony Richardson at number 2. And I think, let me say this, Anthony Richardson has the most potential in this draft, bar none. But, we got to be real here. The Colts' interior offensive line does have some holes. They really don't have a true number 1 receiver. And while we believe in Shane Steichen, while we believe in our front office right now, he hasn't been a head coach yet. So that's why I have Anthony Richardson at number 2. Now, I do like Jonathan Taylor, and I do like Josh Downs, and I do like, Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith and Ryan Kelly and Jelani Woods and Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. So if you're saying, hey, Josh, this is the number one situation, I'm not going to be mad at you.
So why did you pick obviously Bryce Young and Carolina as your number 1?
I think that Bryce Young is the best quarterback prospect in the draft class. So when I look at that, when he goes into any situation, I think he's going to fit just about anywhere he goes the best because he's the best quarterback prospect. Second of all, Frank Reich, I know we fired him, but he does tend to get the most out of his quarterbacks. I mean, look at Carson Wentz when he played in Indy. I know it was a failed experiment, but even Wentz, look at the numbers. He had a decent season. Frank is an experienced head coach, and he kind of knows what to look at a little bit more than what a rookie head coach would. And the Panthers weren't a bottom 5 team or bottom 4 team in the league last year. They traded up to get this guy. So it's not like they were the worst team in the league. They traded up to get this guy, and this team, it's not a bad team there in Carolina. It's really not. So that's why I picked Bryce Young going into the best situation because he wasn't even going to the worst team, and he's picked number 1 overall.
Yeah, well, this is why you're wrong, and this is why I'm going to have to disagree with you because, look, there is not a better matchup of head coach and quarterback than what is going on in Indianapolis right now. Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson are a perfect matchup for each other, and I believe what that's going to turn into is that they are going to let Anthony Richardson cook a lot sooner than most people believe. I don't know if he's going to start right away, but they are not going to play a passive kind of run first, maybe a little bit of old school kind of offense. They are going to let this guy do what he's best, be an athlete, hit the read options, hit the quick slants, hit the bubble screens, hit the one read stuff. They are going to match up his talent right off the bat. Now, Carolina, they got a great running game. They got Frank Reich, who I think is going to want to play it close to the vest, and they're going to give Bryce Young a little bit more. They're gonna box him in a little bit more than I think what he can actually do. I don't know if they have any really good receivers now that DJ Moore is gone, and so I think he's going to be more of a game manager. And Anthony Richardson is going to be the one that's going to be the superstar that's going to shoot out of this. And I think over the next 3 years, specifically 3 years, not probably the first year because Bryce Young is going to probably start right off the bat, going to probably get a lot more opportunities. But I think as the season goes. And then into year 2, into year 3, you're going to see Anthony Richardson. He is going to shine because he is a superstar, and the Colts are going to be the best landing spot.
Hey, I like it. I'm not going to fight it. And one other thing, when we make a list like this, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but a lot of times the best prospect in the draft doesn't always end up having the best career. We look at Andrew Luck. I love Andrew Luck. You know that. Andrew Luck is my guy, but Russell Wilson had the better career. He went to a better situation. You put Andrew Luck on the Seahawks, I mean, this guy might have 5 Super Bowls right now. I'm not even kidding. So you never know how this is going to shake out. We've seen Cleveland Browns kill lots of careers at quarterback. So,
injuries can happen as well too. All that stuff can happen.
A lot can happen. But hey, this is our top 5, and I don't necessarily think any of these guys are going to an awful situation. I do worry a little bit for Will Levis there in Tennessee because their team is, like you said, on the downswing, whereas even Houston, they're building something a little bit. Tennessee, it almost feels like they've kind of stagnated a little bit and they're dropping, which that's not fun. Yep. So,
well, it is fun for us. I mean, we don't really care what they do. We would love to know. We'd love to know your top 5. What are your top 5? Put them in the comments. Kind of interact. Do you agree with us? Do you agree with the guy on the right? Do you think the Panthers are number 2 and Indianapolis 1, or the guy on the left who thinks Panthers are number 1 and the Colts are number 2? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you comment below.
All right, guys, let us know. We appreciate you watching, and until next time, thanks for watching the Common Colt Podcast.